We appreciate that you've stuck with us this morning. Time now for the news review, and our guests join us, starting with Dr. Kwame Asante. He is a political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, good morning. It's good to have you join the conversation this morning. How's your fish farm doing? I know you didn't expect me to start from there. How's your fish farm doing?
It's progressing slowly.
Okay.
But for all the intents and purposes, we are getting there. You know, I told you this is a sample project. It will be magnified somewhere. But so far, the data I'm picking, the chances are that it's going to succeed. I have no doubt in my mind.
Wow. And it's an inspiration that you've stuck to your guns on this and you're doing it, especially for young people. But are there any challenges you're facing in this endeavor?
Yeah, challenges, a lot of them. When you talk to farmers, when the fish is ready, there's nobody to buy. And I challenge the previous government that you sink so much money into the project, giving people fingerlings, giving them fish ponds, all at a cost. And yet when the fish is ready, there's no market. And it defeats the whole process. You know, in public policy, you evaluate. And at the end of the day, if there's a need to overhaul, you do. Or if you need to terminate, you terminate. There's a need for government to look at it and look at it, because that will take a lot of boys and girls of our society out of the streets, and they'll be busy doing it. It's very, very joyful program. I enjoy every morning. I shed sweat and then I work on it, and then before I go to lecture. Yes, it's a beautiful enterprise. The state must support it.
Well, we pray for that support to come. Any quick thoughts for us this morning? Any thoughts you'd like to reflect on?
Yeah, there is something that a lot, but obviously time will not permit us. So let me touch on something small. I'm sure you've been following the vetting ever since John Mahama nominated people for Parliament to vet. One thing has become clear, and is that when we started off with the deputy ministers, or I wouldn't say deputy ministers, one thing has become clear when you look at the trend, that people are confronted with their past. I am not against it. I'm all for it. Because you see, one historian has said that history is the dialogue between the present and the past. So at least they are making the best use, and we are getting information from there. They confront people with statements they've made in the past, which they believe in at that time so strongly. And then when they confront them in Parliament, something that you realize that they believe in so much, and that they hold them dear to their hearts. They come and then they chicken out. My question to those people is that if it is what you are saying is the truth, why fear? Why are you afraid of it? Can't you believe in your conviction and defend it? If what you are churning out is a lie, why are you telling it? And my other question for them, that if your statement is so harsh, why utter them? Why write them? And I am wondering, why do people will not stick to their guns and defend what they believe in, and defend if it is the truth? People have made, from where I sit, I realize that people have made the position of a ministerial and deputy ministerial position that it's like a do or die affair. Hey, I need to have it. So a position that I have espoused, which I believe in, which really reflects the situation on the ground. At the 11th hour, I'm ready to let it go and render an apology. Come on. We don't believe in such people. They are not courageous enough.
But a quick
courageous man is the one who dies on his dagger. After all, truth stands. That's the motto of my hall, the Commonwealth Hall. I want to see more of this, that I believe in what I've said, and that I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to die on it. If it is wrong, do the amendment before now, render apology. But if you come at the 11th hour and you are confronted with, and you render apology there, you tell us all stories, then I don't believe you are worth your salt relative to what? Statement or fact.
I see. Interesting points. Of course, we heard Dr. Clement Apak apologize for some comments saying they were harsh. But at the same time, it's also a fool who never changes his mind. And if on hindsight, you believe that you were a bit harsh, I guess an apology is in order. Though I completely agree with you. And I'm careful when I say what I do because I stick to my guns and I stand by my opinions. But at the same time, Doc, I guess to err is human, isn't it?
No, I agree. That is why earlier rejoinder is necessary. Earlier rejoinder is necessary. And you need to be measured and tempered. We're all human beings. You can make mistakes. But when you do, earlier rejoinder is necessary until this 11th hour. And sometimes the things that they apologize for are the things that are not harsh. They are the stark reality on the ground. Why are you running away? Yesterday, I was very disappointed with my own senior and friend, Dr. Pak. And previously, I was also disappointed with Akufo-Addo. I mean, yes, they spoke the facts. Stand up for that and damn the consequence.
All right. Thank you for those initial thoughts there. As and when we're joined by Dr. Jabir Mohammed as well, we shall take what his comments are. But for now, let's start getting into the newspapers. I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Restore monetary stability. President tasks Bank of Ghana governor and first deputy. And the governor pledged a stable exchange rate. Then there's President Mahama delivers maiden State of the Nation address tomorrow. Minister urges foreign missions to improve conditions at visa centers. Then on the back page, Environment Minister explores fair pricing for e-waste. And Minister of Health inaugurates Kofi-funded 2.9 million Ghana cedi health center at Abutia, Bota, and Kofi there is Kofih. Let me start from there. So the Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta-Kando, has inaugurated a health center at Abutia, Bota in the Whole West District in the Volta region at the cost of 2.9 million Ghana cedis. The 10-bed Dr. Lee Jong-wook Memorial Health Center was funded by the Korea Foundation for International Healthcare and constructed by Lovemark Ventures Limited, a local company. Mr. Akando said the center was to support the delivery of health services and improve access to quality and essential healthcare in the region. So that's the thrust of that story. Let me now talk about the Environment Minister exploring fair pricing for e-waste. I'm talking about Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. Now, the low pricing of cables and other useful materials recovered from electronic waste accounts for the failure of scrap metal dealers to send their items to the e-waste management satellite handover center at Agbogbloshe in Accra for payment. Although the center was set up in 2020 with an incentive payment system by German Development Corporation and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology to promote the sound management of e-waste, the scrap dealers have deserted it because of low pricing compared to world prices. Consequently, some of the scrap dealers still resort to crude methods of extracting cables and other e-waste. So that's the context of it. The Agbogbloshe scrapyard started operating all the way in 1997. Now, to address the impasse between the scrap dealers and the operators of the holding center and ensure the sound management of e-waste, Dr. Mohammed asked for the formation of a committee that included officials from MEST to determine fair pricing for e-waste. And that's the latest on that development. I'll let you reflect quickly on those two stories before I move on to money-related issues and the SONA. Any quick thoughts, Doc?
Yes, I think the electronic waste, that's a bold step that my friend and student, Dr. Murtala, is saying. That's a good one. Yes, because if you look at this, it's being a nuisance to the society for a very long time. That Agbogbloshe area, you go there, electronic appliances, old ones are bent, and they emit all manner of fumes. People inhale the health consequences they are not aware of, and everybody, a passerby, you just catch some and then go and deal with it later in life.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. So the ministry is taking trouble to deal with this. I think is fair and proper. Right. But I want him to extend the conversation to polythene that we have all over this country, which is taking aquatic life, which is destroying soil and its fertility, which is killing fauna and fauna and all that, and creating all manner of problems for us, so that they can also deal with all of them holistically. It is becoming a nuisance. If you look at stories, and I watch a lot of them from your network, where people go to fishing and they catch, if you like, polythene bags and the rest of them. It's a problem. We should be able to move towards the use of paper for a lot of things that we do here. Yes. And then we should also make conscious effort that anything called waste, we should find something relevant with it and use it to improve our society. We need to create jobs. And it is what? Nothing but what? Some of these things that if we are able to apply ourselves together very well, we'll get results. Remember, development is nothing but what? Imagination. Let us be imaginative enough and create things, and out of which we'll build our society. Right.
And we must also contextualize when it comes to these polythene and polystyrene products sometimes that a lot of them, in terms of biodegradability, they don't degrade easily. Some of them can take decades, some even a century, and they are there. They are in the soil, they are in our water bodies, they don't degrade, and they cause all kinds of problems, and which is why we ought to take a good look at them. Especially now that we're contemplating, there are microplastics that are now becoming evident in our bodies in different parts. I mean, there have been studies, and this is just off the cuff, there have been studies that have revealed that even in the male genitalia, and among others, sometimes you will find microplastics. You don't see them. They are in your body. They are wreaking havoc and all of that. And it's not just restricted to men. Sometimes, I think even in toothpaste, from some studies I have read, you would find some of those in there. So urgent issues that we ought to be dealing with. But let's move on to other stories now. Restore monetary stability. President tasks Bank of Ghana Governor and First Deputy. President John Dramani Mahama has tasked the Bank of Ghana to restore stability in the country's monetary system as he swore in the new Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandit Kwesi Esiama, and the First Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Zachary Mumuni. With Dr. Esiama leading the Bank of Ghana, I am confident that we will rebuild trust in the institution, will restore stability and put our economy back on the path of sustained growth, he said. I entrust him with this responsibility, knowing that he will serve with diligence and excellence, the president said. Performing the function in Accra yesterday, President Mahama emphasized the critical role of the central bank in restoring trust in the country's economic governance. And quoting him again, he says, these appointments are not merely routine exercises to satisfy Article 1834 of the Constitution. They constitute a deliberate commitment to the Bank of Ghana's core mandate outlined under Article 183, that is 1 to 3, to regulate currency, ensure monetary stability, and promote sustainable economic development in Ghana. One of the areas, as economists and others have posited, where we seem to lose track of our economy in terms of fiscal activities is the central bank. And now we have a new governor, a new first deputy, and we can only hope and pray that the right things are done. Already I've heard the bit about the president's directive, supposedly not to print money. You know, the more you print, the more your currency is impacted and maybe it gets devalued. But how do you reflect? What are your reflections on these new appointments and what it could mean to our economy, Doc?
Yes, anytime we have fresh appointments, I am happy because one, there is going to be the change of the status quo relative to what we expect. Right. And also, we also hope for better services to improve the life of people. Governance is nothing but what? Improvement of the life of people so that we can survive and survive well. And for this appointment, I am happy that the focus is on making sure that there is monetary stability and all that. This has been a problem of this country. So if the emphasis is there, it's going to drive the officers in crazy to be able to find lasting solution. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate the first deputy, the governor himself, and then the first deputy governor, who was my classmate and friend.
I see.
And I'm so happy. And then a Vandal. So Vandals, we are happy today that we have a first deputy governor in there. Zach, congratulations to you. I've congratulated you already. But as I told you, we will continue to watch the financial space. And where you people go wrong, we'll not hesitate to bring you back to the line. We will always support the effort of good things that you want to do for us. But we will not hesitate at all when you cross the line to give you that type of advice too. So kudos, but please, beyond all the joy and all that, we want results. Give us results so that our currency will be stable, so that we will be able to do a lot for ourselves, and then ensure that we move towards Ghana beyond aid, Ghana that we can do things for ourselves, Ghana that our currency will be strong. You have learned economics and you know the best. Please help us so that your name will be written in the annals of this country as people who turn the tide to make everybody smile.
Thank you for those thoughts. Let me do this last batch of local stories, then we'll take a few on the international front and then move away from the Daily Graphic newspaper. Minister urges foreign missions to improve conditions at visa centers, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has directed all embassies and high commissions in the country to put in place appropriate and humane conditions at their visa centers to create a more convenient environment for applicants. The directive follows the numerous complaints by the public about how Ghanaian citizens are usually treated when they visit foreign missions in Ghana for visa applications. Speaking to the Daily Graphic in Accra yesterday, Mr. Ablakwa said, quote, "Our ministry has engaged embassies and high commissions over issues such as not providing conducive waiting areas, non-availability of emergency services, long waiting times for appointment dates, as well as challenges in using visa application websites." To address these concerns, the ministry has dispatched a note, or not verbal, as we would put it, to all embassies and high commissions, urging them to put in place appropriate and humane conditions at their embassies, high commissions, and visa centers. It goes on and on, but that's the thrust of the story, the salient bits we've looked at. Then President Mahama delivers maiden State of the Nation address tomorrow. President Mahama will deliver his first message on the State of the Nation tomorrow, during which he is expected to tell Ghanaians and the global community the true state of affairs in all sectors of the economy. The weaknesses and strengths inherited will inform the responses and measures the president and his government will spell out, with the solutions grounded in what his party has already promised to do in reviving and growing the economy. By way of predictions, apart from the economy, insiders suggest that President Mahama would also touch on key sectors, including energy, because there is a deep gap of financial deficit to close, education, because a reform is imminent, as well as healthcare, where there will be much to say about the ambiguous Agenda 111 of the previous government, and infrastructural development, for which the electronic transfer levy was introduced, which the president had promised to abolish. And so all of these are some of the predictions that are being made, and the expectations are definitely high. Let me just add a cocktail of international stories, and then we can take it from there. Former Nigerian military ruler launches new book. I'm talking about Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. If you're old enough, you would remember him and his tenure. Children face lethal violence and rape in East Congo war, and this is becoming something that is so worrisome, so bothersome, and all of us should be concerned about it. West Bank Palestinians fear Gaza-style clearance. And then Trump, Macron display stark differences on Ukraine. Those are the stories on the international front. Your reactions, Doc?
I will start with the tsunami that we are going to experience under the second term of Mr. Mahama. That is the maiden one.
Right.
We are all more than expectant and want to see what will come out of this. They've talked about areas that the paper said is going to be emphasis on energy, education, right, health, infrastructure, and the rest of them. Much as I agree, I also wanted to see, I expect, and this time around, I shouldn't slip through the fingers of those who will prepare the document. Galamsey, I want to see and hear concrete measures that the president wants to put in place to address this threat that is affecting our society. I also want to see what, solution to the problem of unemployment, large army of youth who are parading the streets of Ghana without jobs. What is it that his government can do? And remember, he has promised us in all these areas. So we want to see the promise as the basis of what? The social contract that was signed December 7th. Right. And want to see how you want to carry it out. So all of us, eyes are open, ears are open, our pens are ready to put on paper and all that. But I trust that the president will not disappoint. I trust. So he shouldn't let everybody down. The issue of visa centers and the way those officers treat people who come to seek for visa or visas, so to speak. I don't want to mention names, but you go to some embassies, you have to stand, and then it's worrying. Is it the case that when you are in their countries, is that what we see? At least they should attach some importance to this and then do the needful. We are all clients, and we expect them to treat us with respect and dignity, and then support. We all will support the effort. So I think I dove my heart for the minister who has noticed this and then has brought it to sharp focus. And then he's also encouraging the players in that industry to work at it. It's a beautiful thing. The last one is the issue of the East Congo crisis, which is affecting children. And I'm sure women are also in there. Yeah. Most of the times when you have war and then violence like that, women and children suffer the most. And that's the basis for which UNICEF were established and all that. Africa must rise up and then move beyond these things and then make our continent the best. Let us right the wrongs so that people will not refer to history and describe it. One historian described Africa as the continent of turmoil. Let us shy away from that. Let us prove them wrong so that we can build it. Because my worry is that if you read Paul Collier's book, it said, look, the title of the book is that the bottom billion. If you destroy your country for a long time, it will take you so many years to build. And that if you don't take care, you can't even build it. Let us take our, advice from that and build our society. Let us use dialogue to address our differences as opposed to gun and violence. I think that is the way to go.
Thank you very much for those comments. Just a little add-on before I bring in Dr. Mohammed. When it comes to how Ghanaian citizens are treated at some of these embassies and high commissions, we might also, again, without mentioning names, contemplate and dialogue with the airlines. And in recent times, we've had a number of instances where, the treatment of people leaving Ghana, and it may not necessarily be Ghanaians alone, but the flights, some say the flights are not even fit for purpose, the treatment, long delays, no apologies, and all of that. I think the airlines also ought to be spoken to. Ghanaians also have blood flowing through their veins, just as any other citizens from any other country. And the thing is, if you don't create the respect for yourself, no one will respect you. So we have to create that respect and deal with these airlines as well. Again, I could mention names, but I am intentionally refraining from mentioning them. Let me usher in Dr. Jabir Mohammed into the conversation. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning to all our listeners.
Great.
Well, I've just listened to Dr. Ashanti concerning the SONA.
Right.
I believe that this is a litmus test to the president's second term. I think the president has promised us 24-hour economy. I want to see that truly reflects in the speech of the president, because it is very important that we address the issue of the 24-hour economy. This is the center of his campaign during the 2024 elections. So we cannot have a SONA without having concrete measures to be able to roll out the 24-hour economy,
right,
and to ensure that we have a sound and a good economy. So I believe that should prominently featured in his State of the Nation address. And that would be a better way to position the policy for the next 4 years, because that is the center of his government.
Right.
One other thing is about the issue of the visa. I believe that maybe the minister has engaged the people already. If he hasn't done so, then he needs to do that with all the embassies. Issuing out a statement just like that, I mean, well, it calls for something. He needs to have a conversation with them first before he issue any statement of that nature. So he should engage them strongly, because this is really a worrying situation. You cannot go to an embassy and just go there to stand. You really need to go there and you have a place to sit down, and you should be treated as a human being. When you look at the issue of the Congo crisis and so on, as noted earlier already, war has no place in our efforts. If you want to build a nation, you have to build a nation with institutions. Without institutions, you cannot have a stronger nation. So I believe that they should rather focus on building their institutions. If they build their institutions, it will follow by economic development. However, if their institutions are not well built, economic development cannot come to place. I believe that some of these countries were colonies. They were not places that the colonized people wanted, settler communities. They were actually colonies. So whilst they were actually colonies, the institutions were porously built. And as a result of that, it has left a lasting repercussions on those countries. And it behoves on us as Africans to try to build stronger institutions rather than just having a weak institutions. That is leading us to troubles that we are in today.
Thank you. Just quick thoughts from you, though. What do you think about the new central bank's governor, Dr. Isiama, and the first deputy? What are your expectations of them? Very briefly on that.
Well, it's quite clear that we want to have a resounding economy. You recall that the central bank made a loss of 60 billion, followed by a loss of 10 billion. The president has promised that he's not going to turn the central bank to a printing press. I believe that this was a challenge that the former administration had, and it was not their true fault. It was as a result of us being shut out of the international capital market. But what actually led us to we being out of the international capital market, it was because we had borrowed excessively internationally, and we could not honor our debt obligations. We had borrowed about $13.25 billion at an interest rate of 8.25%, average interest rate, for a close of about less than 6 years, which was a worrying situation. So the government was shut out of the international capital market. And as a result of that, we need to resort to the central bank for printing. So I believe that if the president will allow the central bank to be independent, it is going to be a long way to help to sustain a long-lasting economic growth. So the central bank, in as much as the central bank might be independent, but mind you that almost everybody is appointed by the president. So the independence of the central bank cannot be guaranteed if all the external directors, the governor, the deputies, everybody is appointed by the president. You can imagine there can never be an independent of the central bank. So the president saying that he's going to allow them to be independent, I doubt the independence of the central bank. Just that it should give them the autonomy to be able to operate within their remit, within the law that establishes the central bank. If that is done so, then I believe that we can have a solid and a sound central bank, and the economy can rebound.
All right. Thank you for those comments. Let me quickly go to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Bring back experimental schools. I remember back then a number of these, even in Newtown, close to where we are in Kukumlimle, among other places. Bring back experimental schools, Dr. Amate advocates. Lands Minister sets new standards for mining quarries. Don't mistreat visa applicants. Foreign Ministry, we've already delved into that story. GIS National Security must collaborate to strengthen border security. That's according to the Interior Minister. KICC Amusted project trains 220 young farmers on climate-smart agriculture, and dry weather conditions affecting growth of green Ghana trees. Let's start from there. Dry weather conditions affect performance and growth of trees planted under the Green Ghana project, an intervention instituted as part of a flagship program of the erstwhile NPP administration in the Upper East region. Now, the northern, Upper East and Upper West regions suffer dry and hot weather conditions around the season. A follow-up on several of these trees planted last year during the planting season indicates that the trees face challenges at their various stages of performance due to the dry weather. Some stakeholders and staff of the Forestry Commission the reporter interacted with indicated, quote, the trees we water every day. If you look at the growth of the trees in the nursery, it is not too good. Though some are doing well, the others are not doing well, though we water, unless the rain comes again. Mr. Paul Hine said a nursery currently being cared for had an excess of 140,000 tree seedlings. He also noted that 230,000 trees were given out in 2024 to NGOs, churches and individuals, and indicated that Green Ghana is in its fourth year since it was initiated in 2021. And usually when we talk about these, we have to ask, value for money. Growing trees, a good thing. But if you look at the investment and look at the outturn or the output, are we getting value for money? And how do we make them better? And even when we plant in places like the northern belt of the country, knowing the harsh weather conditions, what mechanisms do we put in place to ensure that these trees can be sustained and grow adequately? Then let me come to the other stories. I'll start from page 13. The founder of the Christian University College of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Divine Amate, has called for the reintroduction of experimental schools concept at the basic school level if the country desires to make the best of its educational reforms. He said the experimental schools concept provided the avenue for the state to pilot new educational policies before escalating it to cover all schools. The experimental school concept was evolved in the late 1960s as a vehicle to pilot new educational reforms or policies before escalating those reforms across the whole country. And the final story I'll do for now, Lands Minister sets new standards for mining companies. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, has emphatically stated that he will be hesitant to extend mining leases to companies that do not actively contribute to the country's development. The minister emphasized the government's commitment to development, to channeling mining benefits into community development and enhancing local content capacity, stressing, quote, we want mining companies to understand and appreciate their responsibilities to host communities. Mr. Boa said this during a meeting with the management of Goldfields Ghana Limited on Friday. Quick thoughts. I'll start with you, Dr. Asante.
I'll start with Green Ghana projects. A very laudable project. I support it all the time. But you pose the right question. Do we ensure value for money?
Right.
The things that we have put out there, are we monitoring the process to see whether they are doing well? And that is the bane of this country. Policy evaluation, monitoring is a problem. In fact, what we call policy coherence is not adhered to. And if you look at that, then you have no choice than conclude that we need to up our game if we want to achieve something. But we have to extend the conversation also to other areas within the same sector. That yes, you are interested in planting trees today, but at the same time, you are looking on while people are felling trees. And that becomes a paradox. You know, we need to sort that one out, because every time I see charcoal from the bush to town, then I just tell myself that this is the future of Ghana forest. Are we serious about that? Let us expand the services to the rural areas for them to be encouraged to use LPG gas so that we'll save our forest and save the ecosystem, and by extension, we save ourselves. It is important. We have no choice at all. And then I support the minister, Akufo-Addo, on the mining leases that he wants to restrict the process. That's the way to go. He must put his foot down and see to right all the wrongs associated with the place. I have been told by experts in that area also that there is a structure on the Minerals Commission, which also creates all manner of problems affecting licensing regime and all that. He should also turn his attention in there and then work on that. And then also get all those who have taken over the 44 forest areas that today is difficult for Forestry Commission people to enter. He should work on all that. I know he's capable, but he needs to be able to put his foot down. He should not be afraid of stepping on toes. If you read, Madeleine Albright's book, The Mighty and the Almighty, the preface, he has written, it was written by Bill Clinton, and he said something which is so profound. He said, in politics, if you are afraid to step on toes, you remain still. You should step on toes and move on. I urge him. I support him.
All right. Let's take your initial comments on...
Yeah. I think, can I touch on the experimental schools?
Yes, please.
That is a good one. I'll make it snappy. It is a good program, and I'm happy that Dr. Mate is bringing it to the fore. Because if you look at our educational policies and all that, sometimes we struggle moving from 4 years to 3 years, the secondary school concept and all that. If you had something experimental, it could have helped us to plan properly. I am a product of experimental JSS. We started it 1979 at the Kropong PTC Demonstration Junior Secondary School. And then they developed it. We had to move to secondary school Form 3, continue and concluded Form 5. Later, when they realized that the experiment had worked well, then they started all that. We had about only 10 in Ghana. Accra was Kimbu and the rest of other places. Now you see those products, they are all over. So let us bring that concept. It will help us to be able to plan the policy and plan them well. And where we see problems, we use the fallow period to correct them before we come to full-scale implementation of the policy. That, I think, it's a good call.
All right. Quick thoughts from you, Dr. Mohammed.
Well, I will start with the experimental schools. I believe that currently we are in a state of reforms in the educational sector. And I think that this should be one of the anchors that the reform should be looking at so that we can position it in a very appropriate manner. We cannot have reforms and we come back again and say that we want to reform again. We need to touch it once for all and make sure that things work and work efficiently.
Okay.
Now, on the issue of the licensing regime, I believe that indiscriminate licensing is one of the key things that has led to the destruction of our water bodies through Galamsey. If you scrutinize people who want to come for mining licenses very well and give them the appropriate licenses and give them what they opt to do, I believe that we will not have the destruction that we are currently having. So I hope the minister will crack the whip and ensure that we give mining to people, appropriate licenses to people who actually deserves it. Okay. And all those who are not doing anything good in our water bodies, their licenses should be revoked and appropriate punishment meted out to them. And I also hope that the policy of re-seizing the excavators and putting them into good use is going to work for us. If we are able to do that, we are going to have a cleaner country in the future. Now, finally, to the issue of the Green Ghana project. This is a laudable project, and we have the cylinder circulation program that the former administration started. I believe that we can continue that program. We have the cylinder manufacturing company, which is still there. An MD has been appointed for it. I believe that we need to put in the better strategies to ensure that every part of the country have access to it. We have the gas infrastructure. Why don't you refine the gas so that we don't waste it? Now, if you go to the oil and gas sector, sometimes they have to vent or they have to flare the gas. So instead of flaring the gas, why don't we find an appropriate way of converting the gas into a little liquefied petroleum product so that we can save our environment? The saving of our environment is very important. But if we don't provide the alternative measures, avenues for the poor people, why do you expect them to find cooking fuel?
Right.
Obviously, they rely to cutting down trees. So we have to put in better strategies. We have all the resources to do so. But if we don't plan very well, we are going to fail as a country. So we need to plan and plan very well so that everybody can have a better share of the country national cake.
I'm going to just take some headlines from the remainder of the papers, 2 of them. And gentlemen, you have about 25 seconds to respond. Just final comments. So what you were talking about, so the Accra Times captures a cylinder recirculation model. NPA boss assures seamless implementation. Mahama blames Akufo-Addo Bawumia over banking sector mess and says narrow focus informed the cleanup. Ayariga woos investors. I believe we brought you that story in the news this morning. Moroccan investors assures them of favorable environment. Fear grips Wale Wale as MP weeps in Parliament, and recognized unit committee members Dome Kwabena MP demands. The Ghanaian publisher Don't Blame Afenyo Markin for MPP's low votes in Ashanti. That's Dr. Kofi Boateng. And Stop Sacking Workers, TUC tells Mahama. There's also mainstream PPPs to bridge infrastructure gap upon Kroma to government. Quick thoughts, very quick thoughts. I'll start with you, Dr. Asante.
I will touch on, don't blame Afenyo for low votes in Ashanti. I don't get it. How can Afenyo affect the votes of Ashanti region? I don't know. Because if you look at all the explanations, I don't see how Afenyo comes in. Okay. Anyway, I don't speak for him. But you see, MPP should not be in the state of, like self-denial. They shouldn't.
Okay.
They should accept the defeat, get the basics right. They've sent people out there for research, get the report, look at what went wrong, and see how best they can remedy the situation, right? All these things must be done by data and born out of research. So I expect them to do the needful and stop blaming spirits and then that our people didn't go to vote for you. Who says that even the 2 million people, if you went to the polls, they would have voted for you? Maybe they would have even cast their votes against you or even go there and would not even vote or even destroy the ballot. Right. So they should be circumspect in some of these things and then do the needful by getting data out of research and take a decision that will last the test of time.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Dr. Mohammed, our time is up, but I'm just giving you a few seconds to express your thoughts. Let's go.
Well, I will express my thought will be on the investors issue by Honorable Ayariga. I believe that we should be looking for investors to come into the country. But I also do hope that we need to put in better structures to ensure that local businesses are properly established so that when the investors come in, we can take advantage of their technological know-how and also improve on our systems. Finally, on the issue of the banking crisis, it is something that we have done already, and we need to get over it. And I believe that if banks that were unjustifiable, the alliances were taken, and they have the financial muscle to come back, let's restructure them and let them come back because they're going to create jobs. All right. And the 24-hour
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. We have to go. Unfortunately. Dr. Jabir Mohammed is Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School, and we also had Dr. Kwame Asante, political scientist and center head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Both of them joined us. Stick and stay with us. Up next is sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. We'll be right back.